Finally, the wait is over. Case closed.
Episode 8 of the One Truth Prevails podcast. Just like Yukiko, we will have the ultimate casting. Welcome, Mystery Seekers. I have Professor C again here with me today. We kind of had this emergency type of meeting because I delved down a rabbit hole of a lot of Professor C's old videos talking about the brand and stuff like that in the fight that we were getting to get Funimation to continue. And we kind of won half the battle because we're still somewhat getting a dub with the movies right now. So, I mean, that's something. That's a start. But it really got me digging deeply into the timeline, not just of the Western, but of internationally dubbed timeline. And that's one of the main things that I wanted to go over with, and bringing up some of the stuff with Professor C. Him remembering those things made him have some new thoughts, and we're just going to kind of go down from that. So you can sit down, buckle up as we put the pedal to the metal here and really go down through the timeline from 2003 all the way down to 2022, and maybe a little bit of beyond after that. So Professor C, if you want to come introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Professor C, Case Closed Podcast. Been in the community now for a long time, 11 years plus, and been a Case Closed fan since I was 12. So, if anybody has any room to speak on what's gone on here in the States with it, it's me. And really, the biggest reason I started even talking about anything Case Closed related was because of all the misinformation. I used to go on the old Funimation forums, and people would say why it wasn't still being dubbed, and throw this and throw that, just a lot of misinformation. And I wanted to kind of come back and get real information from real people that had real information, and kind of set the record straight. And that's kind of where it kicked off.
And for me, I know I've talked in earlier podcasts of how I came in love with the series, but I was a fan. I never stated an age. From around 13 to 14 years old, I was right in that range. And I have followed him ever since. And it's hard to believe that Conan is 28 years old right now. I don't know if that's the anime year or the manga year. I'm not doing math right now; it's too late for that. But it's amazing how far he's gone. And one of our topic points, I'm sure today will be, I'm sure he doesn't have long left. Maybe a few years, but it's hard to tell. But we'll be going over that kind of stuff today to really get down to the bottom of all that. So since I know Adult Swim is going to come up in the podcast, obviously, one question I do have, because I didn't ever hear about this until I was listening to your stuff again, and maybe I did originally hear it way back when, like I said, like me, without you knowing, we're attached at the hip for a very long time with the podcast. And one thing I don't remember seeing the first time, or possibly didn't see at all the first time, was when you guys aired that commercial on Kids Out of the Pool.
Yeah, I actually watched that today for like the first time in a long, long time.
I was like, what was that all about? And how did you do that? And what the hell was Kids Out of the Pool? I assume it was like an Adult Swim, I assume.
It was like an homage to like early Adult Swim. More like between the years of 2001 to maybe 2005, but more like celebrated the anime that was on there at that time. It was like a 24-hour streaming site. I just happened to come across it right maybe like 2 or 3 months after I started the podcast, and I thought, oh, this is so cool. And I think they showed Case Closed even at one time. They showed Case Closed and Lupin kind of back to back, kind of like they used to do on the old block, where except obviously Lupin came first and then Conan. But and I thought, oh, this is really cool. And I thought, I'm going to message the guy who runs this. And I said, I do a podcast. I would love to partner with you and promote, what you do here, because I just think this is absolutely awesome. They had little commercial breaks in the middle and stuff. And I said, and I see you do Case Closed. And I said, would you be, in our partnership, would you, be willing to feature Case Closed? This is the project I'm working on and trying to save it here in the States. And he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. If you plug us, that's awesome. So, because at the time the podcast was doing really, really well for the time. And And so I did, and I said, how about during the episode, what if we were to record like a commercial? And I said, I don't know how to edit anything or do anything like that, but I could record the audio. Would you happen to be down for editing it? And he said, absolutely. So a friend of mine, she has an excellent voice, and I asked her if she would provide and we're still friends to this day. I asked her if she would provide the voice to the commercial because I don't really have that great of a sounding voice, and well, nobody I knew really did, and I thought it would just sound better if she did it. So she did, and we submitted it, and then we got to see it, and then for the premiere of the commercial, we actually got together and did a watch party because it was going to premiere on All Kids Out of the Pool, which at any given time would have like 100, 200, sometimes 400 or 500 people watching at one time. It was kind of a big deal. So we really were pumped about it. So it really helped us and it helped them at the same time. So that's a lot of that early success, views and all that, was people coming from All Kids Out of the Pool, maybe never even seen Conan before. So it was really cool. I mean, I really, it was so much fun. I was so sad when All Kids Out of the Pool went away,
Like I said, like I've never heard of it myself. That's why I was just like,
It was a while back, and then somebody else had taken over, and I became good friends with him, and it called it he kind of just shortened it to AKOPT or All Kids or whatever AK, whatever All Kids Out of the Pool. He just
yeah,
kind of hyphenated it and brought it back for a while and did it, but financially it became kind of hard to sustain. So, and I can understand that. He actually used to do our old website too. He used to manage and upload everything for us on that as well. So because I don't know how to do any of that. So he had actually made our forums, and which are still up. Actually, our forums, oddly enough, are still up. The website's not, but the forums are. So, went in and did all that for us. So that's pretty cool. It's kind of cool to go back on the old forums and see what was on there, and what we were talking about at the time. So it was a lot of fun. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was really cool. I hadn't thought about a lot of that stuff in a very long time because it was almost. I mean,
yeah,
really, it was
10 years
almost
ago.
10 years ago.
It was a decade. It was a decade ago. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it actually was 10 years ago. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we started in 2011. So all Kids Out of the Pool and all that came roughly this time 10 years before. And oh man,
Can you believe? Can you believe that this blue jacket, pocket protecting, wearing a bow tie, has been part of our lives for 10 years, and we're still there for him. I don't know, that blows my mind.
been part of my life since I was 12. Since 2004, I've been a Conan fan.
He's
So
I was about 13 or 14. Um, but
it's
yeah, it's just craziness. Who's emailing me from Amazon?
somebody is.
Um, why such an automated response?
I will
Okay.
say though, my favorite year of working on it, probably if I had to rank the years, it was probably 2011, 2012, and then last year getting to work on the Singapore dub. That was like a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
Getting to
Like
work on an official piece of product.
that was kind of me in 2014, 2015, and 2016. When I was starting to talk to more of the people, and literally Conan ending season 5, they didn't finish season 5. And right after Conan ended, that's when I joined your Save Case Closed stuff and everything else like that, and it was literally Conan ending is what made me branch out into the community. I have been part of this community for such a long time, and with a high number count. I had like the Bridge series, stuff like that. That had 3,000 something. The Apera page right now is, I can't even think of the number it's at, but it's up there. And then working with our Bruce Elliott for a few things, having him like help me fill out some voice lines or do me favors or even call me the murderer in his own voice. I think those were all really cool things. I interviewed him about his work, and that's how I was able to tell you guys about like the things that him and Allison Victory would do, like he'd fake punch her in the head and yell Conan, like stuff like that, and learning how their table reads went and stuff like that. And I wish I could find that information again, but like to really see everything that he said. But it's all linked to that one account I lost due to copyright because of freaking the abridged series, which it was all under fair use, and it just really irritated me. I think someone was just flagging my videos just like out of spite because I think
Yeah.
you rubbed someone the wrong way. But they were all falsely flagged. But arguing with TMS Entertainment is impossible. There's no fine line, and they were all fine for years up until. So I was just, okay. So like I had it for 7.5 years, and then it was just like, yeah, no, that's no bueno. It was funny. I don't know. It sucks, but that's when I made the Apera page because I decided, you know what, my humor has changed a lot since 2014, and maybe what I found funny then I don't find funny now, stuff like that. And I just thought I didn't want to deal with any copyright infringements again, stuff like that. And I just that's why I became more of a news outlet type thing, and then I decided, well, you know what? Not only just be a news outlet, why don't you try to join, the actual community who's trying to save the dub? And that's when I kind of branched myself in both. Because if you ever scroll down my page, I don't know if you liked or follow my page in any way, shape, or form. But like you can see, like I'm a mixture of relaying news about what's coming up with the recent anime mixed with stuff about the dub, and actually the podcast is the main source of that. But that's pretty much was my idea of going into this, and just make some cool like case closed products. Like I have a few fun videos that I made that are just randomly on my page that YouTube didn't like because those are actually have copyrighted music in them.
Yeah, and that's I've had that problem. I actually think I lost a couple of episodes of the podcast on there due to that, and I'm like, whatever, I mean, that's okay.
One of my favorite
So,
projects I did is somewhere between um well naturally the one where I showed the English voices for the first time to be the first person to do that uh was pretty cool. But besides that one, I was trying to think, it was just on the top of my head. I was like, that was one of my favorite ones to do for this page, and I can't think of what it was. But that's off topic anyway, so it doesn't even matter. I would like to maybe start with just looking at the Discord chat of the notes I've left. Was the one of you talking about I'm gonna read exactly word for word what I said here because that will help. So your podcast at 10 years old. I went deeper to get some more intel on purposes for research. And when you were talking about Funimation did the whole theme takeover on their social media pages,
yeah.
after the Verdian collection was already over. So just kind of get your because you said that you had some new thoughts on that, because when I remember when that first happened, your first thought was this is good. That this could actually mean something. Maybe they're gearing up for something. And then they did the banner background to promote their two most recent movies as well after that. My initial thought was two things before we get your thought, and because maybe it might steer what you thought too. Maybe you might trigger something. But
Sure.
my thought immediately was just from the marketing perspective side of things, wasn't maybe just, oh hey, let's bring the show back, but in the sense of high promotion to, like, I don't think even at that time, I think at that time they knew what they had was dead. I think it was in the sense of, let's try to sell as much as we can, and try to break, even, because that was their main goal by the end. Whether if that's when that started, who knows? Um, but that was my first thought. Was it's not just a branding? Because I mean, I don't think at that point they had any intention of and then you also brought up was when they started streaming on all those services, you're like, this could be another good thing. And I really do think if we could have done maybe better numbers, which I think we did really good numbers with those, especially with the Amazon sales. But I think maybe that could have maybe changed something if they were way, way, way like astronomical numbers. But I was also thinking like they bought those rights while maybe expensive, but enough to help reach out there's even further to make more money to try to reconsume what they did lose. Um, and they weren't necessarily losing it as they were making it, but they just weren't making what they needed to make it profitable. Um, but yeah, that was my first take when rehearing it, not hearing it for the first
Sure.
time. Because I'm sure rehearing it the first time, I was like, hell yeah, let's go, just like everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, it uh, that was the Viridian had came out, and I remember in that particular podcast in 2013, I had announced that the Viridian had came out 3 years before, which is correct. The Save editions came out later after the Viridians. Um,
Do you know what the main
and
difference was between those?
Not really, other than the packaging was different. The
Okay, that's what I
Viridians,
thought.
the Viridians were bigger, kind of. I thought the Viridians were a nicer set just because they were a little bulkier and a little more durable.
Mhm.
The the Save editions were kind of thinner and
They
I
didn't
mean
have
they
all the
were.
cool art on the inside and on the discs, I remember that.
But who doesn't like a Save Case Closed edition?
Yeah.
But anyway, but I don't know. I mean, I looked at it as it was a good thing. I mean,
Yeah,
because the only reason I pushed back a little bit on it was because if it wasn't doing great or doing well, I mean, it did well. They even indicated to me that it did well. It did not do astronomically as well as
yeah.
they needed it to afford the cost of license. But the question for me becomes, breaking even on investment, buying a digital license is a whole nother
Yeah,
license.
yeah.
That's a whole nother license. So why spend the money on that if you had no intention? And
Becau
the thing is it did do well in a lot of markets. We also reported back then, just on the Xbox marketplace, it reached as high as number 2 on the
yeah.
anime charts. So it coupled with I don't know how it did on the other platforms. I mean, it had to do somewhat well there. Now, granted, the digital license did lapse and expire a few years later that it was out. And so my thought was I was incredibly
Yeah.
excited because I thought the people in the movement were really driving a lot of that. I felt that the advertising was there for the first time in forever. In many ways, just them doing that on their website, even if it was just for a couple of days. I mean,
Mhm.
thousands of people go to that website. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that sparked some sort of action, even if it was only 24 hours. Now, granted, it was a little longer than that, but at the same time, there was a great reason to be excited. And I forgot this until I re listened to that podcast today. The episodes in a lot of these marketplaces were 99 cents
Yeah. Like
to
like
purchase an episode.
like one of the quotes that I heard you say the other day when we were listening to that was, "If you're not willing to spend 99 cents, you're not a fan. You can leave. I'm sorry."
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
felt that I
Yeah.
still feel that way just because at that time the
Uh,
pirating of anime, I mean, yeah, we have that now, but it was like at an outrageously ridiculous level. And I was also reminded too that we were fighting the battle against the YouTube channel Your Case
yeah.
Closed Tube,
Yeah.
which was putting all of those episodes out there, and the guy who ran the page actually agreed with what I said and actually deleted all of that stuff because he was getting tens of thousands of views on his Case Closed videos that I thought were damaging to the brand, and I wanted it gone. So, um, I think at the same time, it was a good move for the fans, and I hope a lot of people did pick those up because obviously now the dub is harder than ever to find, and
Yeah, I know. I
you
was just
know,
checking out Amazon and they were like $100 for like one box.
Unless you go on eBay, there's a few sellers who have all 5 seasons. They'll sell them for like $45 in the marketplace, but and
But
that's good, you
but
know.
I have them all digitally. I'm okay. It's the same thing, you know. It's no different. Uh, and this just non-requires you to use a DVD player. And in all honesty, it's not coming back, so it's like I don't feel that bad about going out and buying it now. I did support it at the time. I did buy things. I don't have those things anymore. I moved, but I really wanted to get that collection again. But I was also at the same time, I'm just like, it's just gonna sit on your shelf. You got it. You support the new one. That's what's important, and that's more money better spent. And that's what I've been doing. So yeah, but to end on the note for this one is I'm gonna keep scrolling back up each time. Uh, so what my thought was is the first thought I had from rehearing you talk about that was the discotheque and how Lupin the Third has been the poster child for years, and the first crossover was kind of a gateway for Conan, and there was a huge, if you remember, before Funimation lost the rights to Mentante Conan, was everyone was thinking Discotheque was going to go after the rights, and that was a huge thing. And we all thought a dub was going to come out of it, and sure enough, uh, which leads us into the other portion of the chat. Was as soon as that went over, we did. TMS Entertainment tweets, would you like to see? Would you ever like to see a new Detective Conan movie in theaters, English dubbed, or in a theater setting at least, not actual movie theater? But it was a really surreal moment to see that, and like in such a short turnaround. I didn't think we'd see anything right away at all. I would have thought it would have taken a long time, or if we would have even gotten anything at all. But just that quick turnaround, and that's when I was talking about. As soon as I sent that message of me thinking, could you imagine one day if Discotheque like Conan is their icon, and they just keep trying to sell it because like I personally, like I said, I think when Conan ends in Japan, you just want to keep milking that cow, sell it to a new audience, and here we are. We've been waiting. We haven't got anything past episode 123. Like we're hungry. Um, and what's nice about this, like we talked, it's just not the Western. I mean, I say Western because we've been the only ones fighting. Um, but I mean, people in Japan bought the Funimation dub. Uh, People in multiple parts of Asia and Arabic speaking countries, some parts of Germany, Singapore. They were all Funimation fans too. I mean, naturally, Singapore also had their own English dub, but it was not just for us. But we call it because it was a Western anime, and we were the ones fighting for it. And I think personally that this international dub is, it was streaming on Arabic TV stations like shortly after it aired in that private screening. Like before Blu-ray or the digital versions of those came out, you could watch them on certain Arabic streaming services. It was so I feel like there's more market to it than just letting Conan just die straight off. I do think there is a lot of money to be made here, especially with Funimation getting most of the profits out of it. They're funding it and they're getting everything in return. You're gonna sell more merchandise. Like to bring Disney into this, which wasn't even part of my things that I was sending you. To bring Disney into this, when they took Spider-Man into Marvel. I'm not a Spider-Man or really Marvel fan, so I'm really just talking as an outside here, once again from a marketing perspective. Um, Sony owns Spider-Man, and they didn't want to keep Spider-Man in in Marvel, but there was high backlash to that. People wanted him, and they signed another 3-movie deal. But the deal is Sony gets 100% of the movie revenue from those movies. And you think, how does Disney win? Disney sold Disney rebought the rights back from Sony to do merchandise. So now they get 100% of the merchandise revenue for Spider-Man. So Disney will make the movie, whatever. Sony gets the money, and then Disney makes all the money from all the merchandising. And Disney walks away with a boatload of cash. So, I mean, in the sense of you plug that into TMS Entertainment's paying this thing to make the movie, blah, blah, whatever, but then everything from that goes back into their pocket. It's a huge, and that's just, from one, let's say they release in the Western Territory, it's probably going to make back all the money that they used just to pay that, to make that happen.
Well,
And
most of
way
it does.
more.
Well, real quick, most of it does, except for the
Yeah.
physical release.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Naturally,
obviously,
by Discotheque, they get
Discotheque is
a
going to
small
get.
portion, yeah. But I mean, for the digital sales too, I mean, those are huge. I mean, if you just look at Amazon numbers and stuff like that, I was looking at Darkest Nightmare when it came out, and the numbers that it climbed were outrageous. But I mean, that's also a Black Organization movie on top of it. What do you want? But it's very interesting, and you just think, from one market, not only are they going to make back what they used to pay to make it, they're going to make way more, and then you got all the people from all the other territories who are going to want to buy it.
Yeah, and it being out on Blu-ray now helps, I think,
Yeah.
even in the digital side. It helps the digital side because it's like another promotion for
Mhm.
the property, whatever
And
else.
so, honestly, in my honest opinion, it's not like TMS can really lose much money by doing this. Funimation, one, it was at the time when Conan wasn't popular, or at least not all that popular. It's extremely popular now. That's the difference. And a lot of people weren't a fan of the name changes or the Western appeal, while Gosho himself was behind making it more comedy driven, also more aimed towards Western humor, and the name changes himself. And I liked all those things quite personally, and if I didn't have those things, I probably wouldn't have fallen for the brand, in my honest opinion. Um, but to go on to the next point that leads off with that was, not only did it get that rare, and since the Scarlet Arc, I have driven this all back to the Scarlet Arc, in the sense of when the Scarlet Arc hit on Crunchyroll. It was shortly after Crunchyroll picked up the license and started doing Case Closed. The Scarlet Arc was they started at 754, and the Scarlet Arc was in the 770s, so it wasn't too shortly after that. Case Closed has hit a 4.9 to a 5-point rating on Crunchyroll and stayed that way, and to this day it has never dipped below that. It fluctuates between the two. And then on Netflix, they had just, a random amount of episodes. You you said, when I was re-listening to your old stuff, you said which episodes those were. They were in the 700s. I know that much.
It was kind of the before. There were a few episodes that was like the
Yeah.
Metropolitan episodes. It's kind of before. Some of them are before the Crunchyroll pickup.
Mhm. And what was interesting with those, for a lot of episodes, and even under the Case Closed name and in U.S. territories, it got that rare, and it's rare on Netflix, especially during that time, to get a 5-star rating. That was a very mind-blowing thing to see for the series. And that also made me think back to, with Crunchyroll, when they started simulcasting the series, they didn't know how good it was going to do, and they started simulcasting every 10 days. Um, so from release of the episodes, the episode comes out in Japan, 10 days later we get it. Then eventually it went down to, I'm just looking at my notes, it went down to 4 days. And then shortly after that, it went down to 3 days. And now it's the same day as Japan, and it's been that way ever since. And it is one of Crunchyroll's best doing animes on its app. And that's very shocking that it's one of their best. And it's all started down from the Scarlet Arc, and Conan's been on the top of the charts since. In the Western audience, it's at least in the Washington Post with the manga, it's always been in the top best-selling. So I mean, there is a market to be hit, and it's very interesting because this is one I really want to hear your opinion on. Because we never really talked about the stuff that I said in the chat. Was when I was talking about how TMS Entertainment, they lunged back at their license as soon as Funimation let it expire and came out with that dub. And Conan's been out for a long time. If there was time to make the jokes, there was time to do it then. And TMS Entertainment did not release a Conan movie at the time or anything like that. It was still very, they weren't talking about having a dub and stuff like that. So it wasn't like there was big news out there to trigger this to happen. And that was when Conan O'Brien made that whole thing about, oh, there's the Japanese Conan, and he's been mooching off me for all this money for all these years and whatnot. I would get it if Conan came back into the main limelight and then he did that, but he didn't, and it made me wonder, what if it was all a marketing ploy? TMS Entertainment contacts Conan O'Brien, or vice. I don't think it would be vice versa. That wouldn't make much sense. To do this, because even like the Mayor Conan, that's something that you get in your inbox and you're just like, okay, you just ignore it. You know what I mean? When a man calls you out on TV, you don't go around and play with that for no reason. Especially with different countries, the oddity that he would repick that back up and then go at it. It all worked out like a screenplay. I do think him going to the wrong airport was an actual mistake, which just added to the hilarious part of that when he arrived in the wrong part of Japan. But it really makes me wonder, like, if TMS USA or even just TMS of Japan teamed up with Conan O'Brien to make this happen, and then started the dub announcement around that time, was like a marketing tool. Like I kind of like want to see like what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, it's very possible. But it's odd how some of that stuff kind of comes together as pretty random typically.
Yeah.
So you'd really never know. It's hard to say. I think what's been encouraging about this new dub is that it can cater to more of a worldwide audience, not just, I don't want it to just cater to, us here in the States.
Yeah.
And I think what's been really encouraging is seeing that every time a Blu-ray has been on Right Stuff, it does end up in the top seller, for however period of time, but at least it ends up there at some point. And, it's nice to log in today and see that even the Japanese only release of the TV special for Lupin Conan was actually a top seller, and it's not really even featured right now. So, it's just nice to see, and I think I think overall the series is just more profitable because really there's not the big void of Funimation. It really, TMS actually sees more of that cash. So
yeah,
I think that's the best thing possible, and they really care about the product, and I think they are trying to find new ways to market it. Granted, they don't market anything all that well, but I think they are trying to find ways to push it strategically without tipping their hand as to what they're actually doing.
Because I thought it was so funny with like how each movie got one tweet. And that was it.
Right.
And like I said the other time, like movie 23 didn't even get its tweet. It didn't get it for a very long time after it was already out. But that brings me to, I like how I worded this, and when I said so I said, even when Netflix picked it up, then Crunchyroll, and then Funimation held on to the license for the first 123 episodes, really 130. When the series could be seen as dying, even with good sales, because the sales were still good, but dying in the sense of they ain't doing anything with it. It gets the 5-star on both streaming services under the Case Closed brand. Then TMS just randomly funds English dub, all during while Funimation stated that they were letting the license to Mentante Conan expire. That I personally believed with Funimation's breaking even, because they did actually finally successfully admit that or state that they did break even with the series. It wasn't a loss. And Netflix and Crunchyroll's major success along with the simulcasting being dropped down to same day as Japan. And TMS Entertainment funding a dub with the Japanese ending in the years to come. It was just like they were waiting to snatch the rights again. Why would they wait so long to dub movies that weren't even licensed out yet, like Zero the Enforcer? Why did they wait exactly to the expiration date? One, to maybe drive up the hype of its return, but most importantly, you can't dub what you don't own the rights to, and that would be the actual series, because they did not own the first 100. I mean, they did technically own it, but they licensed that out. So they couldn't do the first 123 episodes. And I'm sure that would be breaking some kind of contract there with Funimation. So I 100% do still believe that they can be 100% and have been since the beginning, been working on manga episodes. And that's just a real thought to think of. And that brings me to the talking about Funimation. Back to this starts us in 2002 or 2003, when Funimation required the license to Mente Daikonen. Was a very premium series, like Dragon Ball Z and Naruto. It's One Piece. It was a very expensive IP, and when you have to share some of that stuff with TMS in the sense of paying for your license and everything else, you have to gain a lot of money back to make the profit on it. It's not just like licensing out something that's random and making your money off of it and being cool because it didn't cost much. The way that Funimation came in contact with Detective Conan was kind of odd. It wasn't just like they went out and said, "Oh, what animes are good in Japan? Let's pick those." It came in a bundle. Really, is how it happened, and they got a bundle of anime, and Case Closed happened to be one of them. But Case Closed was very expensive in that bundle. It wasn't just like, oh, you can nitpick what you want out of it. It's like, here's the bundle of anime, and they all have their own price tags in a sense. I that's kind of my way of wanting to word it. I could be wrong with exactly how that, how those figures go. But I know for a fact Conan 1 was a very expensive license, and I know it came in a bundle. I know those two pieces of information. And I thought that was very interesting. It's not like they looked for it or it was offered to them. It was part of a bundle, and it was very expensive. And
well, I
so
know
that,
Crunchyroll's license for sure was. I'm not so sure about Case Closed. As far as I know, Crunchyroll's for sure was bundled. I don't know about the Funimation one.
well, I'm not saying bundled in the sense of like they got a bundle of episodes. It was like a bundle to the IP, and I don't know how to describe it. I just remember because I was listening to a bunch of their older stuff and how they acquired certain things and whatnot, and Conan was part of a bundle. It was like there was like a list of anime that they acquired, and that was one of them within the bundle.
And it makes sense. I mean, and that's the question is then how much does the bundle cost? You also have to, in 2003, it's hard to talk now knowing what we know. It's really hard to talk about 2003 and not bring up what was happening in Singapore.
Like the way I look at it, this is my interpretation of their words. My interpretation would be, think of it as a shopping cart full of IPs, and you can't nitpick, and they all have their own price tag. That's how I looked at it. Was like, here's your shopping cart, here's what you're gonna get, and here's everything has its own individual price tag. You can't take anything out of this cart though. It was kind of like that, and whether they use some of those things they might not have even used. It was like, well, we gotta,
Well, some of that's that's the thing too, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that because you don't just as I was talking to Justin Rojas years ago from Funimation, you acquire a series, you don't just acquire a series. You have to get the rights to the music.
Yeah, but I mean, like
effects,
it's the start. But I mean, when you pay that much money, how do you not start dipping into it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not one that you acquire in your bundle and then just say, yeah, we're not doing that one. You paid a lot of money for it and you didn't have a choice to. It's like you got to do something with it. And who knows? That could have been one of the ones that they might have been looking at some point in time. Like, you know what I mean? Because it was popular and they like Dragon Ball Z. Think about being able to acquire something like Dragon Ball Z in status and be like, so maybe they had the intention of wanting to get it at that point. Maybe that wasn't like, oh man, we have to pay this much money for one and we didn't want this. You never know. They could have totally wanted it and totally been looking at it. it just all there are so many different angles to look at that information. It's just because it came in a bundle doesn't mean they didn't want it or they weren't looking at it.
Well, it was
Um,
certainly purchased for the
so yeah,
for the want of distributing on Adult Swim and at that time. So I mean, there's there is some intention into that.
hmm
I certainly believe that they felt it had a TV life, although the releases were so questionable as to why would you release 1 through 7 on DVD along with
hmm
a bundle that has episodes that's never even been on TV. So
exactly.
there were some weird things, and I was also caught in a weird point too of they were transitioning, in those couple of years there
Yeah.
from 3 and 4 episode sets to season sets, and unfortunately Conan kind of fell victim to that too. Um, Unfortunately, in that transition, and I think that's a big
hmm
reason it struggled as much as it did. I think another thing that kind of hurt it too is the fact that at 2005 when we really stopped getting anything new on the DVD side, and it just kind of went quiet. Um, Later in that year they would go on to re-release
hmm
those first couple of seasons on another set of singles DVDs, and then it wouldn't even be until 2 years later in 2000, I think late 2007, early 2008, we got season one finally in a set, in a full-on set, and seasons 4 and 5 had been recorded for years and years. They were recorded in 2005, and we never even got to see those until like late 2008, early 2009. So there was some material that was kind of sat on for 4 years there that really never saw the light of day for quite a while, and those were kind of the last ditch. They even said at the time, depending on how seasons 4 and 5 do, are going to determine, if we continue, with the series. And around that time, that's when movies and all that started getting announced that they were coming out, and people were speculating. Did they just acquire the rights to these movies? And it turned out no, that they had actually acquired the rights to movies 1 through 6 at the same time. They just had not brought movies, 3, 4, 5, and 6 out till much, much later than after, at movie one, which launched in 2006. And then, 14th Target came out in November of 2007. So, and then after that, we didn't even see a new film until, what was it, 2009, 2010, when they just decided, all right, we're going to release 3, 4, 5, and 6 all within about 3 or 4 weeks of each other,
Yeah.
and just kind of offloaded it. So, not having a steady movie release, not having a steady episode release, not having a consistent season release, not having a consistent anything.
Yeah.
Um, and then, of course, it getting axed off of Adult Swim. There were so many things that just kind of, it's like a bad
And
omen for the series.
yeah, and with the movies that we got, and then we got that like the last few movies that we got, and then they did that whole banner change and the whole really the whole profile change overall. It did make you think something was about to go down, and the next thing they had to go over was the Hybrid introduction, and that would have been, I think, would have been really good for this series. I was saying to myself when going to work today, I was just like, could you imagine if Case Closed didn't end there, and maybe end a little bit after that? Maybe it would have kept going, or I could totally see Funimation running up to like that one episode, like in the like around like 511, right in that range. Like I could see them going up to there and have it sound right, like with the art style that's there. But anything after that, I'm just like, I really wonder how it would have even sound or looked. But I was just like to think, because I want to get into these numbers with that, because I found it very interesting when comparing that with what I said earlier was going back to the new dub here would be not only did Funimation have to pay the premium license and then license the chunk of episodes to pay, create, and distribute and market. They had to do all those things, and all those things cost a lot of money. TMS Entertainment, they just got to fund and market and naturally pay Bang Zoom, and then all the sales and everything besides the share that goes to Discotech and the small percentages that I'm sure would go to Amazon or whatever else like that, all ends back in TMS Entertainment's pocket. It's a good turnaround, but that goes into it would be very stupid not to dub this is back to Funimation. It'd be very stupid to not dub episodes that you don't own when, especially with the price tag that you paid for them. Like Funimation said that they could have done more, but they didn't. They stopped right before the new storyline. Then on top of it, just try to break even numbers. However, TMS Entertainment is now paying for it by paying Zoom and skipping the filler, unlike Funimation did, makes sense. For Funimation, it didn't make sense for them to skip the filler because it was so expensive to anyone to bear. You know, like you paid for all these episodes and then you're going to start skipping. TMS Entertainment doesn't have to pay for episodes. They're like, hey, dub this episode. I'm paying you this amount of money, and then let's distribute this and let's make the cash. It's very different in procedure. And I don't know how many more episodes they had. They said that they could have at least done a full season 6. And it was weird because they didn't even finish season 5. So it makes you wonder, okay, how much was left of season 5 and then a complete season 6?
Or did they record season 6 and just never release it? That's
see, I don't think they would have done that. I think if they would have recorded it, they definitely would have released it to use that as for making money, even if it was just digitally. I do not think they were sitting on it. If they were, maybe like they had up to the Hyber episode done or something, and then they didn't release those, which I still think would have been dumb. I think the episode before Hyber's introduction and the episode before that involving her sister, I think both of those before that, I think they should have dubbed everything up to that point. There were a few episodes short of that, and it was still all part of season 5, and it bothered me to the core that they didn't dub those episodes. Like, if you're stopped before Hybera and her sister, fine, but you didn't even finish season 5 anyway, so why don't you just try to do those episodes and then call this a complete season 5 set? And then if you were to have done season 6, you pick up immediately with Hybera. That would have been a huge bang if you did decide to do season 6. You know how many people that would have drawn in. But I was just saying, I truly think with more profits going to TM Entertainment and with their ability to cut edges as a license holder with such control, along with all the stuff that I've said prior about TMS, with the uprising success of the Western Case Closed branding, having it be considered as an international dub would extend the IP's premium net worth value, and in order to keep sales internationally in places such as America, Singapore, and Japan, and plus many other territories, we really could be looking at a new series as the surge continues. Like I've said before, episode 1, The Trial, is really the one to buy because I'm sure that's the numbers that they're looking at. And then you had Disco's Tech's really weird slip up the other week with their
that was interesting.
Their stream, saying you want more Case Closed. Well, there's more, and then it just transitioned and
cut off.
And then waiting for TMS Entertainment to pounce at that exact moment when Funimation let the rights expire. I'm just reading over my list.
Well, certainly it happened very quickly. I mean, I luckily I had some inside information as far as when it happened, but I could not talk about it for, at least 8 or 9 months. I knew, and I was like at pain of death, was like sworn to secrecy to not reveal it to a single person, because I had known about, I'm not going to say what movie I knew about, but an early film, and it was communicated that scripts were, out there and floating around. But I thought, this is amazing. I can't believe this. But there is no way I would ever compromise the the integrity of the dub by ever talking about it. And I think I must have learned about that in, mid to late 2019, I think. So, I knew something was going to happen. The question was when and to what extent and how was it all going to hit? And it does seem like they did wait because I think that they have an incredible love for the property, and I think they saw enough out of the sales. And this was part of what I said actually early on in the movement was go ahead and buy this stuff now, because who cares if Funimation does it anymore or not? I mean, yeah, we want them to, but let's give them some good numbers to look at when the next company comes along and wants to pick it up, and they can look at what the sales are and decide for themselves if they want to. And I think TMS looked at the series as a whole and said, we're not just focused on the US market. We believe that,
Yeah.
based on the history of the series in Singapore, based on the history of the series in the States, we can craft a international dub. Given the two blueprints of what was provided in the English dubs of Singapore, who does not get enough credit, obviously over there, and then what happened here in the States, and craft something that can be released on an international basis. Really, the
Exactly.
Singapore dub, when you think about the Singapore dub, from the fact that it does use the correct names and everything, that would have actually been a really good dub to use on an international basis if they had more voices. Overall, to put into the actual dub, that would have been a great cast to take internationally as well. But at the same time, I think they were very intentional about it, and that you and I we do disagree on a couple of things. I do think I would love to see it in English again. But I'm a little picky on that, considering I've seen 1,000+ episodes in Japanese now, where I'm sitting there going, it's got to be consistent. I don't want them coming in with a whole bunch of new voices and a new cast and a new Conan, and if you're going to use this cast that's doing the movies, I insist as a fan that they continue to do it in the series, because the more they have done it, they have actually improved on their characters and get to know their characters, and
Because
overall. So
because I know that when I said, if a different company picks it up or whatever, then it changes all again, stuff like that. But the reason why I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case, is this right here that I talked about when I said, and I think why TMS Entertainment is doing this is not to only test the waters while carefully curating everything so carefully. I've never seen a company carefully curate everything so perfectly for something that they don't plan to ever do anything with. But to make sure that it succeeds this time while injecting longevity into the brand, and they don't want to lose it again. And that's why I don't think they're going to give it to another company who could just happen to sit on it like Funimation did, and get less of a percentage and cut on top of it.
that's why
You don't,
Bang Zoom is the best company to do
yeah,
it, because they're
yeah,
just hiring
exactly.
Bang Zoom to
That's what I'm saying.
go in.
That's why I don't think another studio is going to pick it up. I don't think they're doing this to try to get another studio to pick it up. I think they're doing it to say, hey, let's do this. And then you don't spend all that time with careful selection into starting, claiming that there's a master plan, pounce on a dub that wasn't even lost. Like, I just remember the hype and sadness around the day that Funimation lost the license to the Case Closed series, and that that iconic door that happens at intermission closes, and it was just one of those, wow, is it really over? And then to immediately turn around to the post that quotes, "Ever wanted to see Detective Conan Zero the Enforcer in theater dubbed as a 4DX feature? Well, your fantasy is finally now a reality." And that was an insane turnaround.
Yeah,
And I think
it was
that was,
years in the making.
and like I said, I think TMS Entertainment would have done it sooner if let's say the rights to Conan expired in 2016. I totally think that Funimation would have turned around by 2017 and would have had a dub started. I don't, which would have been wild to imagine if they started with the Private Eye of the Sea instead of what movie did we have that year? Zero the Enforcer. That would have been so different. What a different timeline that would have been. But that brings us now to our next topic of we were talking about how long it takes to dub an episode, and little plug for myself would be I've been sitting on this panel with Jerry Jewell for a very long time, since May 19th of 2019. I've been sitting on this Q&A with Jerry Jewell, and I finally posted it. And in there, he talked about how long it takes to dub a single episode of anime, especially in the time of Funimation's classic era. That takes about 2 weeks to dub an episode. It could take even less than that if they're, really good on timing and scheduling, and if they save the dubbing of the music for just exclusively the DVD releases. He says because it takes time to write the song, it takes time to fit the song in the time provided, for the singer to learn said song, for the singer to sing said song, edit such song, put the whole thing together, and then put it in between every episode. That's a lot of work. And when he was talking about that, I thought that was very interesting to go in. And then that brought me to, they would only be dubbing a handful of episodes of the 123. When if, let's say, Bang Zoom is doing the series, they're not doing all 123 episodes again. I don't think they're going to pick up if Funimation left off. I think they're going to restart, and they got already a lot of the audio done for episode 1 because they just did the remake. They just got to make a few little tweaks if they, bring up anything different, like, a gun or a knife, because in the anime it was a knife, but in the manga and in the remake it was a gun, which was like the first murder weapon. So like stuff like that would have to be changed, but like they got a lot of the audio clips already. And I posted, you could just Google manga canon episodes, and you can see it's literally a handful of episodes from episode 1 to 123 where Funimation stopped. It's not a lot of episodes.
Yeah, it's really not.
and
But there's a big part of me that hopes they don't do that. I really hope.
I hope they do, because in my sense of, unless if Funimation really wants to squeeze out the brand and thinks that they can financially do another 1,000 episodes in English, go
You mean
for it.
TMS, right?
That's what I meant. Yeah, I don't know what I said. I'm talking very unscripted here. But like, with TMS Entertainment, I don't think they're going to try to squeeze another 1,000 episodes. As much as they want to stretch the brand again, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they will do strictly TV originals. I do think they'll add the Wild Police and Metropolitan Police love stories in, like they're in the main series right now. 100%, I see that. I don't think they'll do Zero's Tea Time in the main thing, which I want to make that clarification. The Wild Police story is actually what's taking place. I didn't really notice that. The Wild Police story arc is not part of Zero's Tea Time at all. They are two separate things. They're both mangas.
Yeah, I think they're gonna dub Zero's Tea Time. I do think they will.
And with
that.
Netflix doing it, yeah. And it's possible. It's only 12 episodes. I don't know if it'll come immediately out with the dub. That would be really cool, because that's the way I'm going to watch it if it does. But Zero's Tea Time does launch in July worldwide. It's going to not be right away for the American viewers. I don't know if you guys know that. It will launch in Japan first, and then shortly after come to us. I still have
April. It goes in Japan, and then July it comes to us.
No, it's July all over. It's
I know.
July.
I thought in April it hit Japan, and then July it came to us.
It might hit TV first or something, like they were going to do like an airing special or something. That might be in April, but it comes to Netflix in July. And it's a worldwide distribution. We're just getting it a few days later. We're still getting it in July, just like they are. It's just, I think it's really time zone. When they say a few days later, I don't think it's actually going to be a few days. We'll have to wait and see exactly how that's going to play out closer. I know April is when we're getting the Detective Conan movie, movie 25, and I was looking at a trailer this morning because they were showing how they were partnering with Dolby and the 4X and everything else, and the trailer that they showed for that, I was like, I know every Detective Conan movie came out in April since the 90s. Every April there's been a Conan movie except for Scarlet Bullet. They pushed it back to 1 year, even though it was finished. Every year it's been April. This movie, mid-April every year. But I feel like this particular movie should have been a mid-October release. It not only does it have Halloween in the title, there's Halloween themes. It's fall. It's just, I think it would have screamed better. I know when it comes out on DVD for Japan, I know they always get it in September or October, so it's going to line up there anyway. But like, I don't know. I saw that. I just wanted to bring that up because I saw that this morning, and I was just
interesting how quick the dub will come out on our side.
What's nice is with the delay of Scarlet Bullet, Scarlet Bullet was finished. They literally in last year they like a week before it came out, like, are you all ready to see the Scarlet Bullet? There wasn't like delay because of COVID in the sense of,
Yeah.
oh, it's not finished. We got to keep working on it. We can't air it. It's done, but it's not safe. And on like the Sonic movie, we're not going to release it digitally. We're gonna, we want, because they hold a festival every year and that makes so much money. And that's why they held off on it. And the one good thing that came out of it, but yeah, we got another COVID delay and we didn't get the Scarlet Bullet in November like we were supposed to. But they were able to dub the movie, and I feel like it's just hilarious because both of these movies were done, and we're still waiting. And I just think it's really funny. But the one good thing is it gave them an extra year ahead. You know how much ahead that they got with movie 25 with getting to start it. They were probably already started on it when Scarlet Bullet was done the first time. And now they're so ahead. I'm sure they got a dub for movie 25 in the works or, whatever. Like they're planning to do another worldwide release again, maybe, well, not worldwide, but, shortly after or something. Like I'm sure they're working on 25 in some capacity in the sense of, whatever that's going to come down to. But it's just interesting. It's an interesting time, not just to be a Conan fan, but just to experience how TMS Entertainment is trying to do a revival on a property that they lost for a very long time. But the reason why I do think Bang Zoom could turn around and really pump out episodes, especially if they've been doing this since the beginning. Do you know how many weeks passed since 2019? There's a lot of weeks in a year. Well, multiple years. It's 2019. But that's where I have this listed was they could have easily have done it fast. Funimation at the time they had the majority of the episodes done before they even approached Adult Swim with the airing of the first how many was it 52 episodes? That's how many episodes they censored and how many episodes they had ready to go for Adult Swim. Mind you, they acquired the license in 2003. I don't remember what day. If you remember what day, that's great, but I didn't research what day they acquired it. But they acquired it in 2003, and by May of 2004, well, before May of 2004, because that's when it aired. You know how many negotiation deals and everything else had to go on before that.
Yeah.
So you could even say, honestly, before May 2004, they had over 52 episodes done.
Well, I don't know about that. Well,
Because they had the episodes done for they had the episodes done for Funimation when they aired and started airing. They already had those 52 episodes done. They were completed in the sense of they were able to show them, this is your product, this is what you're getting, this is our contract of our 52 episodes.
That part, yes.
Yeah.
As far as it going on TV, yeah.
And not only did they have those 52 episodes, they had episodes beyond that done because they were releasing box sets of episodes that weren't in that original 52 episode count. And that's why they were releasing those odd DVDs of random episodes. But if you notice, none of them are before those 52 episode markers because they could not legally have those episodes go out while Adult Swim had the contract to those first 52 episodes, and that's why the 52 episodes are more censored than the rest of them. And they probably, I don't think they planned on going back to Adult Swim after those first 52 episodes. Anyway, because you could tell they weren't really heavily censoring anymore. But they had those episodes done because they were releasing alongside those 52 episodes. So they had, let's just rough ball a number and say, 52 episodes there, and let's just say 68. Let's say they had 68 episodes done. They probably had more than that, but let's just say that for sake. 68 episodes around the realm of 2004. And they picked up the license in 2003, so there's recording, trying to sell it to somebody, getting it sold, and then whatnot. And then that's a lot of episodes to have done in that short amount of time. And if Bang Zoom is being paid to do it, if a company wants it, they will get it done. As simple as that. If you can have if Funimation at that time, the way technology was and the way things are done, and the small group that they were, eh, there's no reason if TMS can nitpick episodes, there is no reason by now why there cannot be already a lot of episodes done, and that's why I really feel like it's very different of a shut case of the argument of a dub possibly happening. Like I 100% think we are going to get, if you were to randomly right now sit down and say, let's at the highest number, say 2.5 um 2.5 weeks it takes them to produce one episode. We're going to highball the number to max. 2.5 weeks to produce an episode. Do you know how many episodes they can have done right now? In that sense, is a really astronomical number, especially if they were starting pretty early on. I think TMS Entertainment knew what they wanted at the time, especially looking at the big sales and uproar that the series did when they immediately tried launching it. And like I said, they were looking at those Funimation numbers, I'm sure, and saying, "Wow, this is actually doing really well." But I get why Funimation's not making them their money, but we could, especially if we changed the nitpicks people had, and enter non-Western comedy and actual names. I really think there could be a whole lot of episodes done, really, and I do think like we will see an English dub for the series, but whether we surpass into season 6 territory worth of episodes is a different story. I do think whatever they have, they will release whatever they do, but whether it continues is a different story. But like Lupin, that kept going, and you know how long that is. And they're not cutting corners with Lupin, but I do think Conan is a very different breed. I don't know if Conan can enter like Lupin did. Lupin never left us like Conan did. Um, but Conan, like I said, since the Scarlet arc, has been doing very well for himself internationally. So you never know. They could do every episode, for sure. And if they do, will it really make it to the end of days? I would sure hope so. And that would be my favorite outcome, to do every single episode and have an English dub. But I kind of want to get to those parts faster, the cool parts, the cool episodes. That's why I thought, some of the, like the Infinity Productions, the Case Closed files of like the important episodes was pretty cool, because in the sense it was just doing the cool episodes that you wanted to hear in English. Who cared about Conan's one-time case at a convenience store? Like, I don't. I mean, I do,
Right.
but like not enough to get that dubbed. Like, if I could pick that or something badass Akai Shuichi did, I want to see the thing Akai Shuichi did.
Of course. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's why I think they'll do the manga episodes, and who knows, they might be cocky and say, "Hey, let's do this," and then maybe if it does not as well as they want, maybe then they start trickling into manga episodes only, trying to continue seeing what they can do. But it's very interesting to see, like, if Funimation could have that many episodes done in that amount of time, in the small studio that they were, and in the age of that time. How long we've come since then. Um, and Bang Zoom's doing a wonderful job. They're all growing into their characters. They all love their characters. When I saw those Twitter posts of them posting new renders of their art, and like I said, that's promotion once again, in a sense. Um, all had unique renders and posted the character that they were and how passionate they were, how they knew these were legacy characters, not just like, oh, I'm dubbing Conan and I'm Conan. It's they all went into deep details with these characters, and they knew how important it was and how much love that they love the character that they do. And I can, like I said, I can 100% see, and they keep teasing a master plan. If there was no master plan, it was just the movies, they would stop bringing that up, but they don't. And unlike their random Twitter posts that never happen, which they have been posting more of Conan lately in marketing ways. In terms of Pie Day, they posted Conan eating pie. Like, that's still marketing in some way. It's not the marketing we need, but it's something more that you weren't doing before. And it's very interesting to see them still talking about a master plan, and they're still talking about Conan a lot. That you can't tell me it's just movies. It's not. we will see something of light of day. Whether it extends, that's a whole different story. But I do expect something of Conan soon. That's not a movie. I don't know how soon. I do think before we get to, you know, anything under, 16 or 15, I would like to say that we would see a series by that point. Um, but it makes me really wonder how many movies are they going to go all the way back? I would like to see that, but also with the other point of talking about the, how many episodes Funimation had done, TMS Entertainment, while they're not going to just copy and paste what Funimation said, they have a blueprint for the first 123 episodes right in front of their face. They're not going to do 123 episodes. I think, like I said, they'll do the manga episodes, but they have a blueprint of what fits the mouth flaps. Like, they have a sentence structure right there. They have what they could say, but I'm sure for respect reasons and for the sake of being verbatim and not westernized, they're going to change some things. But I mean, they have a blueprint right in front of them for these episodes, which could exponentially wrap up production time for those range of episodes. Like you can't tell me just because of how long it would take to do an episode and how long the series is that they're not going to touch it. One Piece was dubbed twice. I'm gonna put that out there. And they did a huge chunk of them the first time for the first studio that did it. I don't watch One Piece, but I'm using that as an example.
It's a great example. I think the only thing is that the dub has been here for a few years now of this new one, and there hasn't really not even been a hint of that they would do it. Now I would like them to do it, but I'm a little more pickier in the sense that it needs to be consistent.
No,
and
I'm
needs to
picky
stay
in that way.
through.
I'm picky that way too. I don't
I
want
just
to keep
don't
changing.
think it. Well, I just don't. The thing is, they haven't indicated really at all that there's an interest in that, and that's okay. I'm okay if they don't to this point.
But see, I want you to answer this.
Sure.
To kind of bring this into to bring you into my brain. Okay, so they're dubbing these movies, right? They've done let's see, they did movie 23. They did technically movie 24. It's done. We're just waiting for it. They did movie well, practically they did everything between movie 24 and movie 19. And we know movie 18 is coming. So I'm going to say for sake, movie 18 through 24 are done, okay? They've been doing those movies, and they have not announced any time that they're stopping. Discotech said, "You want more is coming." Excuse me? But that's not my point. What my point is, we're going to scratch out anything more coming. Movie 18, movie 24, they're done. And we know they don't have any plan on stopping the movies, okay? What?
We don't know. We don't know.
Well,
we
really
don't.
They already talked about it. And the way that they announced movie 23 was, well, we have more to talk about from when they announced movie 23 was
oh, I know what they said. I'm just saying that could be a reference. That could be a reference to movie 18 and 24 though, because they don't. And remember, their own trailer was in Japanese. They did not use the English.
Well, I'm not talking about Discotech anymore. Discotech. That's out of the room. We're gonna pretend that they don't exist. We're just gonna pretend they're just distributing the show. That's their only job. They don't know anything. That's what we're gonna pretend right now. What I'm trying to drive in the idea of, we have movie 18, movie 24, done. And there's really no idea of these movies stopping anytime soon. Like, they're doing well and they're doing them. That's all you need to know in your brain.
Right.
Okay. They keep doing them, right? And then they keep saying alongside of that, master plan for Detective Conan. Clearly the master plan is not the movies, because you keep doing it. And then you keep saying that there's a master plan.
That's the question about it, though. That's the thing, though. They haven't made any indication. They've said master plan for over a year now, and there's been nothing to indicate anything outside
over a year worth of dubbing behind the scenes could 100% be a thing, and that's why they can't say anything yet. Imagine saying, like, "Oh, we're thinking about doing a series," and then, one thing comes to another or whatever. That's false hope. that they could be spreading, or possibly, blowing
Well,
up too much, or maybe people stop buying movies because they're just like, oh, a series is coming, and I don't want to spoil things with new characters or anything like that. I'm gonna wait for the series, and then those sales plummet, and then it ruins their numbers, stuff like that. But you can't go around and keep saying that there's a master plan and then keep doing the movies. So clearly the movies aren't the master plan, because then you just say the master plan is doing the movies. So I mean, what my question is to you mentally, I it, if the movies aren't the master plan, what do you think the master plan could be if it's not the TV series? That's what my question is.
it could be anything in relation to the property. It could be Magic Kaito. It could be the
Oh,
OVAs. It could be
okay,
a lot of things.
okay,
We
but
don't. I
that,
mean, the thing is,
I mean,
we don't
I
know, and it
guess,
could be. By the way,
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm
yeah,
opposed to it. I'm for it if it's the right
yeah,
situation. But this whole thing about going back and doing the old episodes, they
yeah,
keep rehashing those 1 to 123 on all these platforms.
yeah,
I'm sick of it. I would honestly, master plan for me means this is what I hope to God it means is we're going to go and we're going to curate another set of like 200 episodes,
hmm,
curated, remastered,
hmm,
great subs, and we're going to Crunchyroll. And by the way, we're going to give you the option to purchase these episodes digitally
okay. I
and
mean
for
that, yeah,
a sub product. That would be great because if they're not going to go back and dub, at least like a significant part, and I already talked about on the podcast years ago, if they go back and do it, I'd rather them do it as like Case Closed Essentials or Detective Conan Essentials dub, where they do handpick and curate and dub certain episodes.
because
But if they don't do that, I'm cool. If the master plan is, dude, we're going to go and do all these episodes subbed that are really important, or we're just going to do them all subbed, we're going to hand curate all these episodes like we did the early ones, that would be awesome for me. I'd
yeah,
be totally fine with that because, okay, every year I get a new film. They
hmm,
may go back and do more. They may go back and just do all the movies.
hmm,
And on top of that, I'm getting hundreds of new episodes, and people that have never seen these episodes now get to actually watch
yeah,
them. And subbed anime being as popular as it is, they could actually market it, and it does so well on Crunchyroll, and it has had a presence there for 7, 8 years now, where well, maybe not 7, 8 years, but 6 years, where it would do really, really good. And I would be totally happy with a very, nice
hmm,
curated subbed release and movies every year and, multiple movies. I mean, that's awesome. And you got to assume, and we know the 24 dub for sure is done because they
yeah,
were going to show it at NYC. We know they're going to do 25. There's nothing to indicate they're not going to do movie 25, the Bride of Halloween or whatever. But, I mean, it's, that could be master plan. I hope master plan is we're going to, release it subbed and do it. Now, if they do a dub, great. I don't want to see another
yeah,
rehashing of 1 to 123. That is
yeah.
just so. That could kill the series. I'm just
It,
telling you.
yeah, well, see, like I said, it's only a handful of episodes. They're not actually redoing all of them. It's not a
Well, I
lot.
don't know. They may or may not, and who
Yeah,
knows. That's
but
just speculation. If they do that again,
hmm,
it would turn me off to not even want to watch new parts of the series dub because I'm gonna
I
be
don't know.
like, I don't know. I'd be kind of turned off by it. I
I
mean, now,
I
you know,
I've been waiting this long. I mean, I feel like I'm excited. I've been in such a Conan craze lately that I want to even rewatch the entirety of the Funimation dub again. Okay, that's where I'm at, and I mean, it's okay that everyone's different in that sense of what they want. Do I want to see the first 123 episodes again? I mean, like curated, obviously, in the sense of where it's nitpicked of which episodes. I mean, in a sense, I want them because I want a complete package. I don't want to just pick up from where Funimation left off. I want to hear these characters all the way through. And those episodes are so classic and so iconic. And I haven't watched a lot of them in a long time. I watch all the badass scenes that have been subbed, from 200s onwards that I don't really ever rewatch these episodes. I can rewatch a Funimation episode, maybe not even remember what the hell happened. Um
yeah.
and that's where I think Conan, and Conan wasn't so popular the first time around. A lot of people haven't seen these episodes. Um and that's why I feel like it's, you know, okay to do it. And it's not that many, and that's why another reason why I think it's okay, um, in the sense for them to do that again. But it's really what's going on after that. Or I do agree, where it's like that's what I'd like to see dubbed again. But I also I'm dubbed for the first time, really. But the reason why I do see the dubbed route not being the subbed route because you know Crunchyroll could take care of that in the sense of they can just stream that on Crunchyroll, especially with Funimation now being part of that. I'm not saying Funimation would have any hand in it. I'm just saying like it's the biggest streaming service. It makes just release it there, um, with the subtitles if that was the route. But like Lupin is my best example I want to use for this. Is do you know the very difference of market between the Lupin sub and Lupin dub are very different. Lupin dubbed is a very different experience. It's not just oh this is the dubbed version. It's very different than what is written in the actual source words. How the new dub for Case Closed is very verbatim, which could sometimes be dry, but that's my opinion. And I feel like maybe like once there's nothing to compare it to, past the 123, maybe it won't be as dry because it's the only way it was ever said. But with Lupin, it's very different, and you could see that in the Lupin and Conan crossover English dubbed version. They gave more room for the Conan cast to stream away from what was said in the original because Lupin can't verbatim. That's not Lupin's style with the English dub. And what I'm trying to say is there's very different markets here. They can't with the rehashing of the subs again, which is great. Yes, I agree. I would buy into that as well. Maybe not as hardcore because if I want to watch it, I got those episodes on my computer. I got no reason to double dip in that, and it's not English, so it's nothing new to me. What is it? Do I find it worth throwing my money at? No. Maybe if it's a remaster of an episode I really like, sure, throw it up on the flat screen. Great night. Get a pizza or something. But it's not long term of money. And in the sense with Japan, and other countries, you have more chance of selling dubs than anything else. And that's why I think a dub would be the thing. Now, like you said, the master plan could totally be the subs, and I'm totally on the boat with you with that being a possibility. I'm not ruling that out. But I'm just saying it's more marketable. If you see how long Lupin's dub has been going on and how much hype that gets every year. Lupin the Third this weekend finishes part 6. And every single time they release an episode, Team Entertainment's talking about don't worry about the dub, it's coming, blah blah. And people won't watch the subbed version because they're waiting for the dub. Not because they're dubbed fans, but because they're dubbed fans of Lupin. Yeah. It's like you could be a person who says, ew, dubbed anime is gross, but watch one particular show dubbed because it's better dubbed, like Death Note. I'm not a dubbed anime fan. There are very few animes I watch dubbed, and Conan was pretty much almost the only one, to a very minor few exceptions. Death Note is one of the animes I can't watch Japanese. I will shoot myself in the head before I do that. I'm not saying it's a bad version.
Well, there's a difference. There's
insecurity.
There's a difference, different connotation though between those two. Is that Lupin has different series. Conan is a 1,000 plus episode series. And I think I do disagree with you on one thing. I think for the health of the brand, the sub is actually the continuity of having that all in one place. I still advocate to this day they should have an app for Conan because at least the people that watch it on Crunchyroll, that went back and watched everything and now are like, oh my god, there's this major gap and I have no idea where to, because the majority of them did not go online and get those episodes. So for them, there's a huge gap in the story, and the fans that are really driving the series and popularity, I mean, this is going to be controversial, so stay with me.
I'm here for it.
I think that the Crunchyroll fans are the ones that have been driving the bus to it being popular.
No, I 100% agree.
And I think those are the people that are buying the manga too. And I'm sorry, I want to make that fan base happy because I want them to continue to support the product. And I think getting the episode subbed, at least trying to fill in that gap between 124 and to where we are now, or 124 to 753, that big gap, if we could just fill that gap with more episodes, even if they're subbed, they're going to be beautifully curated,
Yeah.
crystal clear, beautiful,
Yeah.
and if we can make that fan base happy, the popularity
Yeah.
of the series takes care of itself because it's those fans on that platform are going to drive it.
See, I can see that too, in the sense, of that. But if you're reading the manga, what's the point of really reading the show again with pictures? I get it. Like, you already
They
know what's
do
going
it,
to happen,
but they
and we
do
do
it.
it, and we rewatch. No, I agree. I'm saying I agree with you. I'm just stating. I'm not disagreeing in any way. I like I said, that's 100% a possibility, and I would like to buy into a Conan app. That's just something that you seem would be a good idea.
The Conan
Um,
app would be amazing because there's so much fucking content. I'm sorry, you can cut
yeah,
that out.
no, no,
There
I'm
is so
not.
much content. There is so much content for
Yeah,
Conan.
no, yeah,
You could literally put it on an
yeah,
app and it could be its own streaming service. And you
yeah,
could get people to pay $4 or $5 a month and you have
yeah,
access to the entire library.
yeah.
And you can do subs and dubs and all sorts of fun stuff on there,
And yeah, but like another reason, back to the dubbing, whether there's going to be an app or whatever the process is the reason why I said the dub can be a thing is because it releases dual audioed. They sell both of them side by side. It just because there's a dub doesn't mean you're curating to the wrong sides or whatever. Like, they can both live. Like I said, people watch Lupin subbed. Yes, they have their own fan bases in a sense, and we over here have been fighting for the dub for so long, where it's like the fans are here for it. And without Funimation's dub, I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have fallen in love with it like I didn't, and why you and me struggled so hard getting into the subbed version of the show, because it was very different, especially from the ending of what Funimation finished to where the next episode would be. You can't deny how different it was in terms of, well, naturally, comedy, voices, everything is very different, and it was very off turning, but you didn't want to stop because you loved what you had been through so far.
Well,
And
that
I
was
feel,
that was a big reason we had picked up in the fan dub. That's why we picked up
yeah,
right where it left off to signify that
and,
there was a
yeah,
fan base that
and
wanted more,
and that's why I feel like a dub is not only inevitable, it makes sense. I'm not saying that we can't get remastered subs alongside of it, because usually they're dual audio tracked, or at least sold separately. Like right now, like how Amazon, After the Darkest Nightmare, added subbed and then the English versions of both movies. So you can go on Amazon right now, watch The Darkest Nightmare dubbed, or you can pay to watch it subbed. You can pick, and I think that is Funimation's thing, because like Funimation's going to make so much money off the dub and even off the subbed version of the show, in the sense where they pay Bang Zoom for however much they're paying. They're making a lot of that money back immediately from sales, and then immediately making all that money that's from the continuing sales of it, where it doesn't really hurt them to do a dub. And in the sense, if it's not going to hurt them to do a dub, I'm not saying the sub content can't come out on the side of it. And like you said, in the sense of, if we get a Conan app, there could be, hey, here's the episode subbed, here's them dubbed, here's a Singapore dub, here's a Funimation dub. They have the license to them, they can do that. Funimation don't own the license anymore. They can 100% do that if that's what they want to do. Um, and make it be Conan's legacy on one app, or for sure. But just because of that, I don't think it rules out the dub. They know that there's a dub here, and the reason why I want to point that out is with the turnaround with Funimation on how fast they turned around and did a dub. That's how you know a dub is in their first forehead. Because why didn't they just say, "Oh, hey, do you guys want to see Detective Conan in theaters? That's cool. Here's the subbed version of this." They could have done that. Why dub it? Why perfectly curate? Why sit down and listen? Why continue? It's just weird to say like a dubbed series is not in their mind. And if that's the case, they didn't have to change the name back to Case Closed, in the sense if they were going to do it digitally. Because if you noticed in the box sets, it said Case Closed on the cover, but when you took off the slip cover, it says Detective Conan, and it's I to me, I know why, legal reasons, but internationally, you don't have to call it Case Closed. In Singapore, you can mark it as Detective Conan. but they don't. They are worldwide, internationally calling this brand Case Closed. Why? It, because it's the dub of the show, Case Closed. It has its marketing already in there for that. Like, if you're going to put in the slipcover Detective Conan, fine, but then why aren't you just calling it Detective Conan over there? Why are you just keeping the term Case Closed all the way around? And I think that is another form of marketing to say, hey, Case Closed is this dub that we're doing. And maybe that's very loose, but I mean, it's a thought, because it just doesn't make sense of why they're calling it Case Closed everywhere they're releasing this.
I didn't realize Amazon was doing the digital. I know they did season 1, but I didn't notice
Yeah.
I'm seeing seasons 2, 3, and
Yeah,
4 on
when
here
I showed
too.
you that, the other day. I wanted to talk to you about that when you left on the last episode, and when you didn't, I was like, I'm gonna save that for next time, and then I just ended up talking to Joe B about it after the stream. I don't even think it was in our podcast. I think it was after the stream when I showed it to him. But it's interesting that Amazon has that going on there too. They have the series under the same logo, the same icon, with like the photo that Crunchyroll is using for the backdrop. It's interesting that, and at that point, then why are they doing that now and not saving that for an application? Because the more that they sell out these licenses, it's kind of harder for them to do the streaming themselves, because people have all these other outlets. Why would I pay, a Conan app when I can just watch it on this app that I already have a subscription to?
Oh, well, that's a pipe dream for me.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna do it, but I mean,
but
it would be a pipe
but
dream.
but for me, with Conan, as much as I love this blue blazered wearing kid, is, to me, who's caught up in the subs mostly. I am behind on a few anime originals, but is what was I gonna say? I don't even remember. Oh, when the show ends, I'm gonna have a hard time rewatching this series. In my honest opinion. And I feel
Yeah.
the only way for me to rewatch this series in any way, I'm not saying because of the length, because knowing how this freaking battle ends makes all these badass and cool scenes grains of salt in the long scheme of things. I know how this battle ends. It's no longer cool. It's no longer exciting. I'm no longer, the new things I learned from rewatching it don't matter anymore. Uh, and I feel like the dub is the new way to do that. It's different. It's fresher in a sense. You get to hear these actors do different deliveries, and it looks and sounds different. And I feel like I would watch the show knowing how it ended that way, just because it's new and different. And uh, and that's just a whole another fan base there that they'd also be hitting. But like, just to know how this battle ends is gonna ruin the rewatchability of the show. Like, I would say, in its own category of ruin, like a different show, like, yeah, you know how it ends, it's no big deal, but a show this long and everything, it's just, I I'm watching this anime about this kid who can't grow up, grow back to his body, but I know how it happens now, and every time that you watch those scenes, they're no longer fresh anymore, or it's just, how it all leads into the final picture. It's no longer. That's just my opinion. I feel like I would struggle very hard to rewatch the show. I feel like right now I could sit down and I just recently been watching. We're almost caught up again. We're like in the high 1000s of manga only episodes that I've been watching with the friend who got me into the series, but he didn't really watch anything past the dub, and we just recently we caught back up, and I still feel like I can go back right now, start back at the beginning, and watched all the episodes, including the filler. Like, I 100% believe I could sit down and do that right now. But let's say the ending came out tomorrow, I don't think I could do that, quite personally, because I feel like I know how it ends. I don't know how it ends right now. It's all open ending. I can still go back and learn something that I didn't understand before that pieces something together for later. They've been planting seeds from episode 219 to the high 1000s. It's so that's my thought process on that. Like, I don't.
I'd be curious. I'm checking something out right now. in this Weather Lady case that's on Amazon if they actually do show a preview to the next episode.
Yeah, because I know Funimation didn't do that.
No. So this is released by Film Rise. That's what it
Mhm.
says. When you click on an episode, it says Film Rise. So I wonder if they're distributing it. You
I
have
know,
English subtitles.
I know you have to have a certain subscription to watch past the first 28 episodes. I know that. And I know with most Prime members you do get
No,
the
this is
first
free with ads because it's on IMDb.
yeah. It says because like what it said for me, it said free with your IMDb subscription, which I think is just thrown in with Prime or whatever. I don't know exactly how that is, but like I read
Oh,
anything past 28 was free with your IMDb subscription.
let's see what it does here. I'm gonna check the end of this episode. Let's see what it does. I'm not gonna have too much more
Yeah.
time, but I probably only got about 10 more minutes before I need to jump off. But I do want to look into some of this stuff. Let's
I
see.
mean, we practically already talked about everything anyway. Reading the end here.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, we
wow.
practically talked about what I wanted to, for the most part.
They actually do show it.
Do they?
Yeah, I'm watching it right now.
So I mean, like I said, there can be a season 6 added to that. Whoever knows, but they keep rehashing the first 5 seasons. Does that season 5 stop at 123? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, and it only has 17 episodes in season 5.
Yeah.
So funny.
Because they didn't finish season 5. That's why. But yeah, I don't. Like I said, there's not.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I 100%. I do think a dub's happening, but like I said, do I think the dub's gonna make its full existence? That I can't answer.
I don't know. My theory is a little more supported right now.
Yeah. I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with you being right and me being wrong. And by the end of the day, I'm not gonna hold any grudges.
We're gonna get more Conan. That's what's gonna happen.
That's what's gonna happen. But I don't feel like pushing the dub so hard, and that's how they've been marketing this so far, and then say master plan. It doesn't make sense for it, and who knows? Like you said, it could just be movie 1 to movie 26 plus. We know movie 26 is going to be shown in a few days. We're going to know what movie 26 is in a few days, at least the theme. So because that happens at the end of the first screening, we know what the next movie's roughly going to be about. So we could honestly say for movie 1 to 26 plus, dubbed, and then we just get everything else subbed is a total possibility. I'm not disagreeing with that in any sense. And maybe we do just get the movies dubbed, and then they have somebody else do the episodes, which I think would be really stupid. And it would turn me off, but I think I could respect it one more time. But I feel like a change after that would be my okay. I'm done. I think I'd still watch it just for shits and giggles. I don't think I'd pay for it anymore. I think that's when I would immediately go straight to piracy. I know I support it, and then I pirate a backup. But like, I think at that point, if they change hands again, I'm a Conan fan, especially dubbed. I'm going to watch it to see what it's all about, to see how it sounds. But I think if they do it one more time, just for the episodes, and they announce this is what we're partnering, this is what we're doing the episodes, I think I could jump behind it and watch it. I do. But I think after that, again, if they change hands again, I think that would be my turnoff for paying for it. I don't think I think it'd take a very long time for me. And I think it's just because I'm a Sonic fan that I've been burned so many times and keep coming back that I'm more immune to that than the average person. But I do definitely feel after a swap from doing a TV series for more than once would be my turn off. I definitely
We'll
think
see what happens.
I
We'll see
could
what
handle
happens for sure.
I could handle one more. I think just if they say this is who we're partnering with to do the show, I'd be like, okay, I get it. You had to make a new deal, whatever. But I would like to see Bing Zoom, and they all grown. Like I told you in what was it Fist of Blue Sapphire? He sounded more nasally as Shinichi, especially in the opening. Whether that was intentional or maybe he was just sick or something, I don't. But it had that more Jerry Jewell flavor. I do feel like his delivery is a little bit dry, and I'm not the only one who said that. That I didn't feel that as my definition for him until I heard other people say it. I do think he's a great voice for Shinichi, especially for the comparison to the Japanese side of what he sounds like. And Ryan has become less annoying to me. She wasn't annoying in the sense of bad pick. I just didn't like her voice in the sense of it just sounded very off from what we've been so used to between Rachel and Japanese Rachel. While it is closer to Japanese Rachel, or Ran, or however you want to say it, it was very octave. I didn't like it, but
I think the Singapore voice nailed Ran really well.
yeah,
I
but
thought really well.
and I want to sit down and I want to binge that. That's another thing I want to do. And I think that when I will crack that can open will be my celebratory when they announce that they're doing a show. I think that's when I'll sit down and I'll crank that out, being like, that'll be my bottle of champagne. Um,
Yeah,
so
watch the Singapore
I'm
dub. I
saving
think
that
you'd
for a
really
good day.
enjoy it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it, especially like when you were just posting like when you were showing off like the little clips before you fully put up the full thing that I saw, and I kind of liked what I saw. I like the Funimation better, but I do like
Cool.
it, and
Yeah.
I do like it. It's good. Um, but I do think Bing Zoom does a fabulous job. Um, and they're all growing better and better. Um, and by the time, and maybe why they're doing the movies first is one, to see numbers, but I think is to train these voices so the series stands stronger. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You go in and already sounding fantastic. Is you listen to Zero the Enforcer, especially the beta version that I had, um, and then listen to movie 23. It's night and day, and I feel by the time if that they get to the series and have it sound so strong to begin off with would be not only good for trying to sell it, but I think overall that might be their plan. And
Well,
who knows? We'll
who
never know.
knows? We will
We'll
see.
never know.
I gotta
Well,
jump out the window here. I'm gonna have to
all right.
hop off.
But could you imagine if they get down to movie 1 and they never announce what the master plan is?
Oh, jeez.
Oh my god! But all right,
Jeez Louise.
I'll let you sign off. You can tell people where to find you.
Well, Facebook is kind of our a big draw. Facebook, Twitter, Safe Case Closed. Typically when we do a podcast, I'll come on and we'll all kind of group together and just kind of talk a little Conan. So sometimes I'll go on guest, some other shows for Conan. So anything that happens there, we'll obviously we'll plug it and drop it. And until then, I just keep plugging all the new information we get. So excited for that.
And for me, you can find me at Sherry's Apera. I'm trying to secure those handles all over. Otherwise, codename Apera should be at least be able to pull up the Facebook and YouTube channel. I think maybe there might be a little bit of a hiatus till the next episode. I kind of want to see what's going to happen with movie 25 and sense of that news when that comes out, and then we'll debate from there. Maybe talk about movie 25 in some sense. And talk what movie 26 could be all about when we see that little tease. But I definitely think the next big news for the podcast, besides the movie 25, what might cause us to wait a little bit will be I think once Discotheque finally releases movie 23 on Blu-ray, might be around the time we hear about what's next for Conan, unless if they just spring movie 24 on us, at any point, and then that's naturally something to come back and talk about. But if that's not the case, it will be to see what they talk about next, because I feel like once that product is out, it's time to talk about what's next. It's always about, you release your one product, talk about what's next. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a waiting game, since it's probably going to be about September when that Blu-ray releases for movie 23. So we'll have to wait and see. I kind of hope we get news before that, but that was it for episode 8 of the Case Closed One Truth Prevails podcast, and we'll catch you all next time. All right, can I end this? I don't know how. Leave. Craig, you need to leave. I don't know how to make you leave.
I'll just go ahead. I'll jump off, but
All
yeah,
right.
well, I'll talk to you soon, man.
This is your one-stop shop. Subscribe and remember, with a keen eye for details, one truth will always prevail.